Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to another episode of A Dude and a Monkey, as once and again we take you to the outer reaches of the Dude and a Monkey universe, a place where dudes are monkeys, monkeys are dudes, and Tom Cruise is a bankable franchise starting actor. My name is Noel Mellor, your host for the show, which can mean only one thing. No, Spider-Man didn't get an early release. It means we are once again in Dude and a Monkey in a Mank mode to play it forward. And as ever, I am joined in this endeavour by...
Marc Foster, hello everybody.
Sweaty McSweaterson.
So that's right, we're playing it forward, and if you don't know what that means, basically what it is once in a while I give these two a night of hosting duties, and we all gift each other a movie that we think the other will enjoy for some reason, furnishing their iTunes collection with a shiny new carbuncle of some description in the process. This time around, I have gifted Marc, Marc has gifted Ian, and Ian has gifted me. And so each giver will introduce their reasons for gifting the film before handing over to the receiver, who will offer his thoughts upon said film. Before we crack on, though, as a fan of the show and a listener of the show, I have to ask, is there anything that happened in the world of film this week that we need to talk about at all?
I
guess there's one big thing, really.
Yeah, Lord and Miller have left the Han Solo movie, which I suppose is a big thing.
It was like 5 months into shooting. They've only got 3 weeks left, and now they walk.
Is it that far into shooting?
Apparently, about 5 months.
Wow.
Yeah, I heard somewhere there was a couple of months left of shooting. That's how I heard it.
I thought it was literally like a few weeks into like production, and it was just wow. That's deep in there.
Yeah, I mean maybe there's more time left, but 5 months is apparently how long they've been going for. So I don't know, man. I mean, it's a bit. You get the guys who did 21 and 22 Jump Street and the Lego Movie and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Did you not think they were gonna want to do things at least a bit their own way?
Well, we're in a very...
They've certainly got a lot of cash in the bank as well. You know, they're bankable directors.
It feels like we're in a similar situation to the Edgar Wright Ant-Man thing here, where, I mean, obviously this was a lot further down the line by the sounds of it, but it's a little bit... The studio has kind of taken on someone who, I mean, I don't even think they haven't really got a style. They're just mental. A bit cheeky, and they will push things and a bit parodical, and
a bit zany,
and they will mock things a little bit maybe. But I can't imagine they were so far off, really. I mean, unless they were going for like 70s hair gags and stuff like that, I can't really see that. I mean, you just wouldn't, would you? The reason I compare it to the Ant-Man Edgar Wright situation as well is the unfortunate thing is we're never ever really going to know what's happened here, and that's bloody frustrating as a film fan. Even somebody who doesn't care too much about the Star Wars universe, it's just frustrating that you're never going to know.
Well, the most recent kind of rumor is that it was a script issue. Specifically,
they haven't had the script for months. I don't know. I mean, like, I think maybe they wanted to go off script or something like that, and you got someone like Donald Glover who's probably pretty fucking into that, and that Phoebe Waller. I genuinely can't remember her name. The one who does Fleabag.
Oh, the one from Fleabag, yeah.
So she's in it as well, and you'd imagine maybe she's got a bit of that going for her as well. So, and Woody Harrelson, who just did a live one take film or whatever it was in London. So you got these people, along with Phil Lord and Chris Miller, who seem to be up for playing with things a bit, but you've got them in Star Wars, which is it's only going to be more and more studio controlled as it goes now, because these new ones have made so much money that they are going to want to keep their eye on it, and fair play, because they're investing a lot of money. But
fucking hell, like, doesn't it? Like, I mean, if anything else, they're in a safer position to employ someone like Lord and Miller to just alter the tone just a little bit, because people are the general public don't give a shit who these two people are. They're gonna go and see Star Wars. This film will make an extremely large sum of money. So I don't personally understand the fear myself. It's not a gamble, is it? It's less of a gamble than Rogue One was, because this is a character that we actually know.
That's fair. I
Yeah.
mean, it's the thing is, they're going to have NDAs. It's going to be like, if you talk within a certain period of time, you're going to owe us X percentage of what we've already paid you up to this point, or something like that. And also the fact that they've left with just the creative differences thing. So, they're going to try and be amicable, even though shit obviously went down. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do now, because it's like, do they try to do the blockbuster thing again, or do they try and go smaller and get some of that back? I mean, to be fair, from film Twitter view, at least we're only one day in, but it kind of seems like it's all Kathleen Kennedy's fault, and it's not Lord and Miller's fault at all. It's just them trying to protect their own vision. And, I don't know. It feels like Kathleen Kennedy has been very widely praised for her stewardship of the Star Wars franchise. And this one thing happens where a pair of hot shit directors run into trouble with it, and then suddenly, no one was decrying it too much when there were all these rumours about Gareth Edwards being taken out of the editing room for Rogue One. Why? Because Gareth Edwards isn't a particularly cool director.
No, but you're right. We are 3 films deep, and it's already, there's two of the directors, or two of the directing teams, I suppose you could call it, have already had issues. And let's face it, they got in J.J. Abrams because they knew that he was the steadiest pair of blockbuster hands you can get.
It's actually 3 if you count Josh Trank, but that seems probably slightly more reasonable on Disney's part.
Which one was he gonna do?
I think was he doing this,
or was he doing Han Solo? Fuck.
He was originally doing Han Solo, wasn't he? But he was kicked off it before he even started.
Yeah, he was kicked off sort of mid.
He probably turned up and went, "What if you really like weed?"
Yeah. I think he was kicked off around the time everything was going crazy around Fantastic Four.
Yeah, like that kind of just feels like that might have just been wise.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think the main concern for me now is, you say, Ian, that obviously they're towing the line and they're playing it safe because they don't want to get stung for money if they talk about it. The bigger concern for me is Disney now holds the keys to a lot of toy boxes, and I do enjoy the work of these 2 directors, everything that I've seen so far, and I'd like to see them get their hands on something interesting, and I would like to see them get their hands on a comic book film, so I hope that they do manage to part amicably with Disney, because there's a lot of stuff that Disney has that they could be good for. Either that, or they just go make the Plastic Man movie, like I said on WhatsApp the other day.
Yeah.
Make the Plastic Man movie, cast Sam Rockwell. Failing that, cast Jake Johnson, is it? Get that movie made. Somebody needs to make a Plastic Man movie.
And Jake Johnson needs a big movie.
And Jake Johnson needs, yeah, exactly.
Not needs. Jake Johnson deserves a big movie.
Agree.
Yeah, he needs a shot. He
does, because I think we said on a couple of weeks ago when we were talking to Mummy, he seems like the guy who all he needs is to be cast in the lead role of something big, and that's it. He'll go Chris Pratt stratosphere.
Well, that's what prompted me to think of that today. Actually, I've always thought that Sam Rockwell would be a great Plastic Man.
Yeah.
But he's kind of getting on a bit, Sam Rockwell, now, and I can't imagine he'd want to. And I think, what they would be looking for is somebody, another Chris Pratt. So yeah, why not give it that guy?
I think Sam Rockwell would do it if he got to dance plenty.
Yeah, and he would. God, I'd love to see that film. I would.
Because that man loves a fucking dance.
Okay, anything else we want to cover off before we move on?
Have you guys seen the runtime for Dunkirk?
No.
3.5 hours.
1 hour 47 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, oh, that's good.
That's a surprise.
That means I'll actually see it.
And, as well, Nolan has absolute final fucking cut on his movies, so...
Yeah.
Oh,
but I remember seeing it where he did state that that this one, that people might be surprised at how long this was, and everybody thought that meant, shit, you're looking at 3 and a bit hours. And when the question was then put to him, why is that? And he said, because there's an amount of time you need to take to tell this story, and that's the amount of time I'm going to take to tell it. So a lot of people at the time, I think, were thinking, shit, this could be like nearly 4 hours long. But yeah, that's under 2 hours. Nolan hasn't done an under 2 hours since...
Following. Oh, no.
Memento?
It's his shortest since Following. But yeah, I think Insomnia might have been just under 2 hours.
Was it? It was actually under 2 hours? I thought it was just over. That's fucking... That's actually loads more interesting than if it was like 3.5 hours long.
Yeah, I'm apparently as well, there's not an awful lot of dialogue in it.
I heard that a while ago.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's telling its story through the visuals, and it's just going to kind of blow you away. Fucking hour and 40 with, before credits. Fuck it, bring it.
Yeah. Oh. That's fucking Nolan surprising everyone with that.
That's just, the thing is, that is just in and out. Judging by the poll at the moment, next week we're going to be doing Transformers The Last Night, which is 149 fucking minutes long.
Yes.
And I think if we do, I think Noel's going to join us for it, maybe.
Yes, I'm going on Sunday.
Okay, so, yeah. All right.
But, can I ask a quick question about that film? Do I need to have seen all of the other ones? Because I've not.
That's out.
Could I just watch the last one?
I'm going to rewatch Age of Extinction. It's on Netflix, so.
Oh right, I might even watch that tonight. How long is it?
I might rewatch it as well. And actually,
is it 3 weeks long?
It is.
Wow. 2 hours 45 minutes long. It might as well be 3 weeks long. It'll take me 3 weeks to watch it.
Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, to be honest, it's. In the grand scheme of things, if that's the first Transformers film you see, I know Ian from a long time ago said that he liked the first one. I've never really liked any of these films, and I'm a huge Transformers fan, and I've never liked any of these films. But if you're starting with this last one, there are worse places you can start. The second and third ones are appalling, especially the second one.
Is there a previously on Transformers of Anarchy on this or anything like that I can just fucking blast through?
Well,
I don't think you need it for I think if you're starting at four kind of, it doesn't reboot, but it's sort of...
It's as close to a reboot as they got.
As they wanted to get.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Do you know what? I'll treat it as I'm watching a 2 hour 45 minute Mark Wahlberg movie.
That's exactly the attitude to take, yeah. That's what I'm doing on Sunday.
His character's called Cade Yeager. How can you not like that?
Cade Yeager?
Cade Yeager.
I kind of want a kid now.
Fucking you are getting broody, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah. It's not happening, but I'm getting a little bit broody.
Oh, he claimed to come and visit me the other week, but I know
that was a fucking fraud. That I can't visit your children.
I'm thinking of maybe coming up to Manchester for Dunkirk, go see it at the IMAX.
Yes,
anyway,
do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did say when Marc was here, actually, if you do want to do that, then you can come and crash here. I'll go watch it with you, and we'll record and stuff. So yeah, if you.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
Cool. I'll look out some.
Especially now I know it's less than 2 fucking hours.
Hour and 47 minutes. Who would have? Christ. I wish Bet365 did odds on will you know, what will the runtime on Dunkirk be? Like, you know, that's the kind of betting I want to do, man. You know, it's like who would have thought it? Who would have thought it? But Robbie Collins got me quite excited for the Transformers, I've got to say, just because he's talking about how the last half hour or so, the action climax is just basically like smashing two planets against each other or something, and it's like, yeah, fine. Do you know what? I will watch two planets being smashed up against each other. I've got a feeling any of the human interactions are going to be appalling. But I'm gonna watch the robot fighting.
Well, this is it. My whole. For some reason, I felt excited about this over the last week or so. Now, part of that is because I've always been a fan of Transformers since I was a kid. I've been rereading the comics through this sort of subscription thing. All the comics that I used to read, I've been sort of reading them religiously, and I'm really enjoying that. And also, I'm just kind of in the mood for going to the cinema and just escaping and watching some silly shit. And I love Mark Wahlberg. So it's my whole thing is I just want to have fun on a Sunday evening for 2.5 hours. So fuck it. Yeah, let's do it.
Why not?
It's the worst that can happen.
Exactly.
Well, it's 73% to 27% with just under 12 hours left. So I think it's probably going to be Transformers.
Good. I feel like I might have seen something that suggests a certain character that I'm interested in is appearing in this one as well. So yeah, I'm sure he won't be the character as I remember him, but because none of the characters in this fucking franchise ever have been. Yeah, I'll be looking forward to that if that is the case.
Okay, I mean, I'm gonna completely just bow down to you while you talk about Transformers. I think if we do that, it'll be interesting. Like, we didn't review a Transformers show on Heroes, did we? Oh,
No, never.
Have we not?
Have we? I don't know.
I feel like we definitely talked about 2 at one point, but I think it might have just been in a what we watched or something.
Yeah, okay.
Because I remember just being infuriated with the second film so much. It was so confusing and so boring.
I remember I was working in a cinema and we did like a midnight tech screening of it while we had like a midnight public showing playing, and we were like testing the other print, and like I got out of it, and then I walked out of the doors, and it was starting to get light, and it was like, how long have I been in that building for? It was so fucking depressing. And it was just like, I just did that for that. And I was going in liking the first one.
Yeah.
You know, and then Transformers 3, I again did a tech screening of it, fell asleep for about 10 minutes, which was the best part of the film. And Transformers 4, I think I illegally downloaded it. So, there's that. Oh, what's up with Lottie? I'm sure she's okay. Hang on, sorry guys, 2 seconds. Don, what's going on with her? She okay? Oh, okay, that's weird. Alright, sorry about that.
Fair enough.
No, I mean, it's... The thing is, I'm kind of up for Transformers 5, but I've got a feeling it's like having a drunken moment of like, wouldn't it be awesome if I just like tried to, I don't know, something fucking stupid, and then you start doing it, and then it's like, this is a terrible idea, why am I still doing this?
Yeah.
I've got a feeling 10 minutes in it's going to be that.
Yeah. It's like, what if I tried to have sex with this Hoover, and then
that's the kind of thing I was
in the middle of having sex with a Hoover, your dick gets stuck, and you're like, fuck, this was a really bad idea. We've all been there. Anyway, so the news is Star Wars bad, Transformers good.
Yes.
I think.
Who'd have thunk?
That's definitely
okay. Should we crack on?
Yeah, boy.
All All right. So, so as I say then, this time around, I've gifted Marc, Marc's gifted Ian, and Ian has gifted me. Shall I start the ball rolling with Marc?
Sure.
Yeah? Okay. All right. Well, a little bit about the thought process. So there's various ways that we kind of, I'm sure we all have our own ways of kind of doing this and coming up with different things. Marc isn't that easy to buy for, because although I understand and know his taste, I feel quite well and share a lot of his taste. He's fucking seen everything, so he's difficult to pick for in that regard. However, this time around, I took a slightly different approach. I picked something that I had that I wanted to rewatch, that I thought that I'd not seen for a long time, that I thought he'd get on with, and that I thought he'd be able to get some good chat out of, some good discussion out of. So it was less about appealing to Marc's taste, and it was more about, I know this is a good film, and I think there's a discussion around it potentially from Marc. So that was kind of the thought process. And I have picked Black Caesar from 1973, also known as The Godfather of Harlem. One of the reasons that I'm a huge fan of this film is I do like a bit of blaxploitation. I absolutely love Fred Williamson. Larry Cohen is a filmmaker that I've had a lot of fun with in the past. He's done a lot of trash over the years and highly enjoyable stuff he's been involved in too. Larry Cohen's 1973 movie Black Caesar. Marc, what do you think?
Well, at first, when you suggested it, I did look at it and think, as soon as I thought, I've not seen that. Why have I not seen that? And I looked at it, I thought, is it the movie I think it is? And I looked at it, up and went, yeah, why have I not seen that? I'm the same. I'm a big fan of Fred Williamson. I like Larry Cohen. I like blaxploitation. I remember first reading about Black Caesar when I read funnily enough, it was a book I read in the mid-90s, early to mid-90s, about Robert De Niro and how he researched each of his roles up to Cape Fear. And one of them was the films he watched, because he'd ask the directors that he was working with what he could watch to get an idea about what the film was about. And one of the films that Sergio Leone got him to watch when he was making Once Upon a Time in America was Black Caesar. And back in the sort of mid-90s, it was early mid-90s, it was really difficult to get hold of anything that wasn't, I mean, you'll remember this, Noel, anything that wasn't available as standing in a video shop. It was difficult to get hold of. And so it piqued my interest for a little bit, and I tried to find it for a little bit, but then I went on to something else probably quite quickly after that. And so as soon as you mentioned it kind of jarred that memory. And then you think, shit, why have I never gone, fuck, I'll be able to get hold of this now, and just either bought it or downloaded it or whatever. So, yeah, I was very much kind of like, I'm very much looking forward to this now. I really enjoyed it. It's very atypical of the of sort of a lot of blaxploitation and 70s blaxploitation, especially the early wave of blaxploitation, in the fact that its tonality and the way that it moves is very much kind of played out by its budget and by its director. Like Owen, whenever he directs a movie, he directs low budget movies. There's no getting away from it. He might have written some higher budget movies in the more recent sort of times of his career, but his directorial movies, they're often quite low budget, and often blaxploitation movies were quite low budget because they were appealing to a certain audience that at the time they weren't considered to be the mass audience. When you're dealing with essentially a very specific audience, you're not going to get the budgets that you would normally get, and that's why American National Pictures, they picked up these movies, and they're their thing was that they, you know, as long as you had a cool title and a cool poster and you could show a cool trailer, fuck it, you get people in cinemas. And that's what Black Caesar does. But then occasionally you've got very good movies that worked on that, and Black Caesar was certainly one of those. Starts out really strongly as well. You've got that opening little bit of...
love that opening.
Yeah, the opening scene, it's... You very much go, right, in the opening 5 minutes, which is almost like a short sort of setup film for the rest of the movie. If you aren't taken by that, then you aren't gonna... You're not going to enjoy what you're going to get. But within that first 5 minutes, I was like, yeah, all right, I know what I'm in for. Yeah, sit back and let it take you over. And it does that. Fantastic performances, great soundtrack. That James Brown soundtrack is fantastic. And it's a really fucking cool movie. There's that as well, you know. That's the thing that you have to take a lot away from this. And I was watching after I watched the movie, I watched a kind of interview. You know, one of those interviews where you don't actually hear the questions that are being asked. You just hear the responses. With Quentin Tarantino talking about his love for blaxploitation, and obviously Quentin Tarantino talking about movies in any way is always fascinating because the guy has such energy and passion, and you know he's talking about it and just going on about how cool it is and how much fun it is and how it made him kind of, it was the first movie he'd seen with Fred Williamson that he was like, fuck it, that's the guy, that's the coolest guy I've seen in cinema, and you know he's even cooler than fucking Shaft, and he's doing all of the typical Quentin Tarantino bits, and you look at going, he's right.
Yeah. And I think that the thing that I like about this as well, being a fan of Fred Williamson, is it's early Fred Williamson as well. I mean,
Fred Williamson, yeah.
He'd done a couple of lead performances before this, Hammer, and another film that I'm not going to mention because of the title.
Legend of
Charlie, let's just call it. Yeah. So I mean, this is kind of quite early on in his career, and he looks young. And he's not doing the exact sort of, you know, Fred the Hammer Williamson stuff that he does much later in his career. But he's a bit more fresh faced, and you can believe that he's somebody sort of discovering himself, and sort of learning to be a badass and figuring out ways to sort of get around the white black divide by just doing his own thing. And he's absolutely brilliant. He's in I can't remember the name of it now. An Enzo Castellari film from the mid '80s, which was where is it? I can't remember the name of it. It's just completely. I can't remember. But yeah, you see sort of later on in his career when he's a bit deeper voiced, he's a bit more gruff and stuff like that. He grows into a slightly different kind of badass, and I'll take Fred Williamson over any of the sort of blaxploitation actors. He's absolutely fantastic, and he's fantastic in this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got such an energy, and it's an interesting character because he's not. He's cool. He's quite calm as a character, and you know he only has his moments where he cracks towards the end of the movie, and when he starts to get angry. Yeah.
And the other thing as well is it's, you know, you say that it's a low budget movie, and yes, it is a low budget movie. The one thing I've never been able to understand is, you know, 1973. James Brown is peaking, and this is a full-on James Brown soundtrack. You know, you can't imagine now. I don't know who the equivalent sort of black artist who's at the peak of his powers would be. I know Kanye or something. You can't imagine Kanye West doing an Asylum film, you know, a soundtrack for an Asylum film or something. It just seems odd that they would have such a low budget for the film, but then have this sort of, you know, monster of funk and soul to do an entire soundtrack for.
I mean, the strange thing is that
behind four, you know, like
exactly.
Yeah. Sorry.
I mean, the thing is with the whole sort of James Brown thing there is it's the funny thing with that is you still had in even the early 70s, James Brown was still predominantly playing to audiences that were actually signs up saying black only audiences, to which James Brown was like, fucking no, I don't want that. You know, why is that even a thing? I want, you know, if white folks want to come in and watch me, white folks can fucking come in and watch me. I don't want to
knowing James Brown, that probably had less to do with like removing the racial divide and probably just more to do with cash.
Oh yeah, that's probably it. You know, he probably did say, white folks, they'll come and they'll spend money on drinks, and the brothers were. Was it Bronx Warriors? The
Bronx, yes, it's Bronx Warriors. It's not Bronx Warriors. Is it Bronx Warriors?
It is Bronx Warriors 1990. It is.
Yeah, I'm getting mixed up because there's a third Bronx Warriors film, which isn't the third Bronx Warriors film, and that's what confuses me, and I get them all mixed up. But it is. It's 1990, the Bronx Warriors, and he plays the sort of leader of a gang in that, and he's excellent in that. I think it was actually that film that turned me on to first of all Enzo Castellari, but also Fred Williamson, and from there I went off and watched a bunch of blaxploitation films that I'd not seen, including this, and also Three the Hard Way. I don't know if you've ever seen Three the Hard Way.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Three the Hard Way is good. It's better than this. It's Three the Hard Way is just fucking incredible. Excellent.
Yeah,
So you watched it as well, then, Ian?
Yeah, God, yeah, I did. Of course, I did. I mean, I was with it until he raped his missus.
Yes, that bit is a little. That's a bit that doesn't transfer to modern times as much as maybe it was alright.
He's like, I don't care, I'll rape you. It's like, whoa, shit. Like, okay, so he's acknowledging that it's seen as a no-no, but he's just going to go and do it anyway. I was kind of surprised by how the music seemed to influence the music of Black Dynamite, and primarily in the way that sometimes it was telling the story of the film. Like, literally, there's that funeral, and James Brown is singing "Mama's Dead."
Yeah.
And which was I almost felt parodic, even though it obviously wasn't.
And they use it in a very specific way there as well, because there's no suggestion that Mama is dead until you're just suddenly at a funeral and you're hearing James Brown say, Mama's dead. So it's like, oh, right, okay, well, I'm caught up.
But it was almost like they forgot to film a bit where like the mum dies. So it was just like, right, James, can you just do us like a 20-second sting just talking about Mama's dead? Sure, yeah, why not? I mean, it felt like that. I mean, it's I had fun with it. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, I was well in until then. Like you say, Mark, the mini movie at the start is great, and the way he's building up his empire and just like fucking over the white man and whatnot. But there is a bit of a disconnect between him on the rise and him on the fall. It's very much he's on the rise, he's on the rise. You don't get any of him really being on the top at all. It's just straight away it starts falling.
Yeah, he does very much. It is a rise and fall movie. There's no, like you said, there's no him having fun or him being the boss. It's just he's getting up to be the boss. Oh wait, we're a few years in the future, and then he's getting taken away.
And this is my fundamental criticism that I have of this film this time around. I didn't notice this the first time around for whatever reasons. I think I was just enjoying it so much that time. But this time around, and I would very, very rarely say this film could do with being a fair amount longer. It could do with a good extra half hour of character building and story building in there. If they wanted to, because like you say, the section where you cut to sort of the funeral, there feels like there's a chunk of the movie that's gone. Then a little bit later on, and I think Ian, you mentioned this on WhatsApp, when it cuts back to the friend who's run off with his wife, and they've had 2 kids, and you're like, fucking hell, well, I thought this was just like the next day or something. What's happened? And it feels like it powers through quite a bit too quickly, and you kind of want to get to know everybody a little bit more, and it feels like there's a sort of, there's an almost Godfather-like saga there. but they don't play it out. They just crack on to the next thing.
They've had, because there's the scene where they've just had the baby, and the guy's in there, and he's like, right, you're gonna fucking steal that shit and sleep with him, otherwise, you know, we're gonna do you for X, Y, and Z. And then she sleeps with him. They get his diary and then try to assassinate him. And then, isn't it, he's shot there? And then he calls the house, and suddenly they've got 2 kids.
Yeah.
And it's like, it does feel like, hang on, so did they have 2 kids all along? Because he was only talking about the one baby earlier on.
Yeah.
Now suddenly they've got 2. And
it assumes that you've accepted time has passed, but it doesn't feel like time has passed.
And the fact that he's been shot, and it's like at least a couple of years have spanned. If it's just like Black Caesar has been walking around Harlem for 2 years with a gunshot wound, fine, I'll take that. But it doesn't. One of these things is not like the other. You know, it's very odd there.
And you mentioned that scene as well where the white cop guy goes to visit her to tell her, to go and fuck him, basically. How uncomfortable was the way he was stroking that child?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I don't know if that was intentional or not, though. I was just sat there will you put that child down? Because it's freaking me out.
Yeah.
Just like weirdly stroking its face/head. You can see the child was like, what the fuck is this? I went to stage school. Like, who is this guy?
He's fucking honky stroking me.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit weird. Are you completely right that it could do with being like an extra 20 minutes, half an hour longer, which would still make it an easily watchable runtime, but would kind of fill in the blanks a little bit.
It's a very classic story, and it's a classic story that this time around has been done within the framework of blaxploitation, and I feel like that classic Godfather styling to it could have been applied a little bit more and made it a bit more of an epic. And, you know, even down to the fact that you get that he's been, looking out for his best friend his entire life because it tells you, but you never really get that sense. I mean, you see him early on because he's the kid with the glasses and, you know, he's going to be the brains of the operation and that type of thing. You never really get the feeling that they've been through that much together. So when he sleeps with his wife, you're a little bit like, well, yeah, that's just because you just sent that guy, who, as it turns out, is your best friend, off to go and live with your wife in a house in fucking and look after her and stuff like that. It doesn't feel. I don't know. There's so much that could be fleshed out. So much.
What's quite interesting about it is Black Caesar is kind of influenced or based loosely on a 1931 film called Little Caesar. Which strangely enough, that was a Warner Brothers movie, I think. And then United Artists made. It's not James Cagney.
I feel like I've seen that.
It's I think it's Douglas Fairbrass. But then that United Artists' response to kind of that being really popular was to make Scarface.
Yeah.
Which of course then influenced Scarface, the 1983 movie, which you also have the friend thing, but it's with the sister and things like that. So there's a lot of kind of influences, and there's a lot of that. It's a very classic gangsters movie in that sense, and the rise and the fall kind of thing. There's a lot to be taken from these movies, and it shows how each of them you can almost trace them all back, because each of them is borrowing from this, because that's borrowing from that, because that was influenced by that, and that was influenced by this. And everything's bad that, and it just shows that you can put a pin in early gangster sort of movies when they sort of became popular around the sort of late 20s, early 30s, and you can pretty much go, right, well, they were really popular then, and then they basically, once you had the code of ethics came in the mid-40s, then you had running through up until sort of like the mid kind of 60s, and then the gangster thing wasn't really as much, movies weren't really as much of a thing, and they started to come back in the late 60s, early 70s, and then we had a big wave of them, between, 72 and, the sort of the early 80s. You had a 10-year passage where they were popular again, and then they went out again, and then, now, then you had the, in the early 90s, which we'll come to later on in the show, you had the gangster movies that were based again, like the blaxploitation movies. There were the new crop of heavily black youth culture movies, and then it moved that kind of segued us into the very sort of Boston centric gangster movies that we've got now.
Yeah. And it's funny as well, I never realised before that there was actually a sequel to this, Hell Up in Harlem, which I've heard of, but I didn't realise was a sequel to this.
Right.
Directed by Larry Cohen again, starring Fred Williamson again, starring Gloria Hendry as his wife again. So it does sort of pick up the story, and which obviously
as well, wasn't it?
Sorry. Yeah, apparently according to this, it was according to IMDb, it was the same year, but obviously that can't be. But I mean, they cranked out movies at all sorts of rates back then. So yeah, I'm going to check that out because I'd heard of Hell Up in Harlem, but I didn't know what it was. Certainly didn't know that it was a full-on sequel, which is interesting because knowing that now makes the ending to this feel a little weaker, maybe, just because there's a suggestion that he's sort of ashes to ashes a little bit. He's kind of, do you know what I mean? He's been killed by the very people that he was in the place where he was born. But obviously, apparently, he is not dead. So
I'll tell you what, don't read the about the film on iTunes for Hell Up in Harlem. Kind of seems to just basically give you a summary of the entire fucking plot.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, shit. All right. Well, yeah, it's $2.49 to rent on iTunes. I'm all over that. To be fair, I agree. It definitely kills the kind of the power that the ending has, but like just the title. I mean, the cover art is basically Fred Williamson with
it's a bit Bondy, isn't it?
A gun, and just a bit.
Yeah, it is very Bondy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I'm up for that.
I think I'll be watching that as well. Actually, yeah.
Definitely. Looks like his dad's back in it as well, but he's wearing a pimp hat.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Yeah.
I'll be honest. His dad in the picture I'm looking at looks insanely like Samuel L. Jackson.
Don't tell Samuel L. Jackson that, he gets upset about that type of thing.
It could be Larry Fishburne, but it might be Samuel L. Jackson.
It's the soundtrack for this.
Oh wait. Oh. Is it Morgan Freeman? No, it's Samuel L. Jackson.
Soundtrack by Edwin Starr in this one. So.
That's a bit of a come down.
Yeah.
Incidentally, as well, quick factoid. James Brown only started to be called the Godfather of Soul after the re-released the soundtrack of Black Caesar.
Oh, interesting.
That was where it was coined, apparently, in a write-up about that, and he liked it so much that he basically said, from now on, that's what I want to be called.
Nice.
Yeah, isn't it the Black Caesar soundtrack that has the song from Spider-Man 3 as well? Or am I mixing that up?
What?
I'm pretty sure it is. I think it's called Drive Your Funky Soul or something. From Spider-Man 3, the sort of Black Spider-Man sequence where he's walking down the street and dancing.
Yeah. Do you know what? Yeah, there was one song in this that I was like, that I've definitely heard this somewhere.
It might not be.
Maybe it was that.
James Brown, Drive Your Funky Soul. Oh no, it's not. It's from Motherlode. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
There's the big payback, which is used in the Django soundtrack.
Yeah.
Oh, that might be it.
That's where you'll probably hear it from. Know it from.
Okay, well, sounds like it was a hit all round. So, Mark, you would pay that forward then? It's a film you'd recommend?
Absolutely, yeah. If you're into your blaxploitation movies, then, and you've not, you probably will have seen it, but I'd give it a heartily recommend. Yeah, I was very happy with my time with it.
I think actually I'd never thought like that as well. Actually, I think if you had never seen a blaxploitation movie, this would be a good starting place.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you know what? It would be. It'd be a better starting place than some of the.
It'd be a better starting place than Shaft, I think.
It'd be a better starting place than Shaft. It'd be a better starting place than Foxy Brown. Yeah, certainly. In fact, I'd go as far as to say I think it'd be a really nice introduction into blaxploitation. And if you like that, you like certain elements of that, then you can start going through the more sort of perceived classics of the subgenre, I suppose.
Yeah, I think if you like this, then immediately go and watch 3 the Hard Way because it's fucking awesome.
Yes.
So. Excellent. Right. So that was.
Gonna get me a drink if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Mark, Ian's going to get a drink, and then when we return, we'll find out what Mark sent him.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah. Building up to the climax.
I have no desire to rewatch Transformers 1, 2, or 3 ever again in my life. I'm pretty sure
Transformers 2 on Blu-ray. I've never watched it.
Why the fuck did you do that?
Because I saw it for £2, and it essentially it's a special edition where it's actually a car that stands up.
Oh,
and I wanted to play with the car.
Nice.
Okay, shall we push on?
Yeah, man, let's do it.
Okay, so we've had my pick for Mark. Now we're going to have Mark's pick for Ian. Mark, do you want to introduce us to the film?
Yeah, the film I picked for Ian is the 1992 sort of noir crime film, Deep Cover, starring Lawrence Fishburne and Jeff Goldblum, also directed by Bill Duke. And the reason why I chose it is it was a constant kind of rent movie for me. I used to rent it on sort of several occasions. I did actually try and do the usual thing of what I do if I rented something more than twice, is I just sort of do a copy of it for myself. But they occasionally, very, very occasionally, films had a caption decoder on them, which meant if you did that, all of the fucking actual picture just scrambled, which was very irritating for the burgeoning movie pirate.
Oh, is that when it would like go black and white a little bit, and then a massive line would kind of go down the like?
Yes, it was indeed.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I know that shit.
Yeah, so I just used to rent it quite a bit, which is quite good because it went down to like £1 rental quite quickly afterwards. And I actually remember the guy in the video shop saying, "I think literally you have paid for this movie already." And it was, and at that point, you were still in sort of the days where you couldn't just go to your local video shop and buy Deep Cover. The place you could get it was, and it feels fucking weird, but we are talking 25 years ago, the ability to just go out and buy VHSs, all VHSs, didn't really kick in until like the mid to late 90s. And I rewatched it a couple of years ago just to see how it held up, to be honest, and just to give it a bit of a rewatch. I was reminiscing about my VHS days and was actually surprised at how fucking good it was and how well it held up and how kind of dark and biting it was. I think at the same time I also watched like New Jack City and a few of the other ones, and they didn't hold up quite as well. But Deep Cover kind of stood out to me, and it's I think part of the reason why it stood out so much was because of that noir element and that noir sort of tint that it took in its approach, especially the voiceover that you've got from Fishburne. And I was also going through a bit of the Fishburne phase as well. So that kind of took it there, and I thought, do you know what? I remember Ian saying he hadn't seen it, and then I'd rewatched it again when it eventually came down on iTunes. I saw it for like $6.99 one time, and I bought it then and rewatched it. And Ian sort of again, when I mentioned it on the podcast, Ian said that he kind of wanted to see it, and so I took advantage of that and thought, you know what? There we go. It'll be one that I have a feeling Ian will at least get something out of. Also, as well, I thought that Noel would probably quite enjoy a rewatch of it, give him an excuse to rewatch it, and of course, give me an excuse to rewatch it.
I enjoyed this. I'm glad to have it in my collection. Whether I'd rewatch it often, I don't know, but I would watch it again. It's a weird combination of kind of stone cold serious Larry Fishburne and Goldblum just kind of having a bit of a laugh for most of it. Even though Goldblum intense is a kind of a weird thing, and he on occasion with this, I think he really does well. Like the scene where it like they in the voiceover it just says like I was having a great time, and then it all started to go wrong, and then it's like the Italian guy's kind of taking the piss out of him, and like the slaps game. That was really good. It was like, what the fuck is going to happen here? I can't tell where Goldblum is going. And it was kind of a shame that it kind of feels like he goes up to a point, but then it's like, oh shit, actually this is about Fishburne's dive, so then they have to focus more on him and like starting drinking and doing the coke, and then he's the kind of like Goldblum's the more rational one, and it's like that kind of change of pace. I suppose it's where this film was going, but Goldblum lulled me into a more entertaining kind of mood. I mean, the bit where it's like he's coming out of that girl's apartment, he's like, I don't know what it is about balling black chicks, and it's like what? It's I will watch this version of Goldblum all day long. Thank you very much. But also contrasting with how intense he is with his daughter with her maths.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
She will get this, and it's almost like he's going to scream at his wife, like, shut up, 2 + 2 equals, but never quite gets there. He's just like, it's very subtle, but yeah, I mean, it's a fair, again, kind of weirdly like Black Caesar. It's kind of a rise and fall thing, but from a very different point of view. And it's really intense in some spots. I mean, the moment where the crack lady is kind of like, you like my kid, don't you? Yeah, I'll let you have him. Yeah, $2,000. And he's like, no. What, you don't think he's worth that? It's my son. And just the way that she's only in a couple of scenes, but the way she is so fucking on one is really disturbing. So it's
the first scene where she gets him by where she like he's coming into the room and she starts going on at him. I was just fucking. I had to take the headphone. I was watching this on the train. I had to take my headphones out for a minute because she was driving me fucking mental.
Sure. yeah, no, but I mean that is completely intended, and it's just. Because I was thinking, like, well, shit, is he going to get into a relationship with her? And it's going to, and it kind of took me down that road, and maybe it's just cinematic convention, I don't know. But it took me down that road, and then it's like, no, she's in a couple of scenes, and then, she turns up dead later on, and okay, then fair enough. So, yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I feel like this is in Noel's wheelhouse as well, to be fair.
Oh, very much, yeah.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, it's a film I know I've seen, but it was a damn long time ago, so I didn't really remember that much about it. I'd forgotten all the Jeff Goldblum stuff, which was great. I think you're absolutely right. I think it's Jeff Goldblum's is the slightly more interesting character here because, yes, he's Goldblum and he's entertaining, but also he is walking a very fine line and you don't know what side he's going to fall on a lot of the time. Sometimes he comes across as, okay, he's the nerdy lawyer guy who's gotten in above his head. And then other times he's borderline psychotic, and what's he going to do? Is he just going to shoot someone?
Yeah.
So I think, the moment where he crosses over a little bit is, of course, the scene with the hand punching thing. But then after that, where I can't remember the character's name, Guzman, is it? Sort of wears a wire, and then there's the car chase scene after that. Sorry, Felix. Yeah, that's it. He sort of loses it in the back of the car. That scene's really intense because and then he shoots him in one hand, and then he shoots him in the other hand, and he's telling him to jump out of the car, and Laurie Fishburne's saying, telling him not to tell him to do that. And then when he does what he does, and he's leaning out the car and he screams, yeah, we'll have jumbo shrimp. We'll have jumbo shrimp, motherfucker. And it's like, this is beautiful. Yeah. This is brilliant. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I think I've probably forgotten the noir element of it as well. I think I just thought of it as being within that sort of New Jack City kind of menace to society era of modern blaxploitation, if you like, that really nice era of stuff. So it was nice to see that noir stuff come through again as well, and to see Lawrence Fishburne back when he was Larry Fishburne just doing something as a central performance.
This was his last Larry Fishburne film.
I was going to say it feels like it was like, how the fuck was he still Larry Fishburne doing this?
Yeah, this was the last film he was credited as Larry Fishburne for.
That makes total sense. It's hell of a film. Sorry, the fan is blowing really cold air at me, and I'm loving it. I'm sorry, I'm getting slightly distracted.
The thing is, as well, I mean, this was when Lawrence Fishburne was in a really he was a really kind of productive few years in his career where he was churning out some fucking great movies. In 1990, I think he did King of New York, and then Boys in the Hood was the film he did before Deep Cover, and then he was Ike Turner the year after, and he was making some really fucking interesting shit. Leading up to sort of going up to The Matrix, and then it kind of all went a little bit downhill since then, really, to be honest. That's not downhill. He still made some fantastic movies post Matrix, but that's where you also started getting peppered in things like fucking Biker Boys and stuff like that. So yeah, it was. Like you say, this does feel like it should have been the first Lawrence Fishburne movie, or Boys in the Hood maybe should have been the first Lawrence Fishburne movie.
Yeah, and it's interesting as well because at this particular point in his career, obviously he'd been in Boys in the Hood, and he'd been in Deep Cover, so he was a very cool actor. I mean, he was attached to two films that had incredible soundtracks. This and Boys in the Hood, and were soundtracks that I had on rotation very heavily around that time as well. So he was riding a real high, and it feels like, although he'd done stuff like Boys in the Hood and Deep Cover and Class Action and stuff like that, he'd made a name for himself as a cool actor, but it feels a little bit to me like What's Love Got to Do with It was the one where he tried to step up and become maybe a more an attempt at maybe being an award-winning actor.
Yeah, and that was. And the thing is, I remember seeing an interview with him. So I got quite into post Deep Cover, quite into Lawrence Fishburne, and he was saying that everybody was telling him not to do What's Love Got to Do with It. Was saying,
Mike Turner's incredibly dislikable character in it.
That's so, it. And it was saying, don't do it because you're playing one of the most unlikable, black stars there is.
Yeah.
And the film it absolutely doesn't paint him in a good light, which it should, is what I'm saying. But yeah, there was that, and I think he made another. Did you ever see the John Singleton follow-up to Boys in the Hood, the Higher Learning?
Yes, yeah.
That's another movie that of the time that doesn't sort of get. Have you ever seen Higher Learning?
No, I haven't. It's cinema of this ilk is a bit of a blind spot for me, to be absolutely honest with you. And it kind of feels like something I should rectify. I've never seen Boys in the Hood, so
you should see Boys in the Hood. Certainly should see Boys in the Hood, yeah.
So but
here's the cast. Here's the cast of Higher Learning. Omar Epps, Kirsty Swanson, Michael Rappaport, Ice Cube, Jennifer Connelly, Tyra Banks, Cole Hauser, Busta Rhymes, Lawrence Fishburne, and Gwyneth Paltrow.
That's a fucking mix.
Gwyneth Paltrow's in that.
Yeah, Adam Goldberg's in there as well. And it's all set around a college campus where Lawrence Fishburne plays the professor, and it's all about race relations and campus rape and sexuality and all things like that. It's a fucking really intense movie.
Yeah. I seem to remember it at the time. I seem to remember Higher Learning as well being the one. I mean, I don't know about theatrical releases or anything like that, but I seem to remember it being the one where it almost felt like, okay, we've had Boys in the Hood and that did well, and we've had this and that did well. This is the big one now. It seemed to have that sense of it, and I don't know if it lived up to that, because it's certainly not one people talk about as much as Boys in the Hood or New Jack City and Menace to Society. But it had that sense about it that this was going to be even more of a crossover than Boys in the Hood was.
I might be talking absolute bobbins here, but I seem to remember it got a write-up in the New York Times about the there's an early scene in the movie, there's an early rape scene in the movie, which isn't actually particularly graphic or anything like that, but the fact that it was dealt with in a non-graphic way and such a this just happens, and this happens a lot, and the film kind of deals with that and says this happens a lot, that kind of gave it a lot of bad write-ups, which kind of hindered it quite a lot, especially in America. And what the thing is, at the time, it wasn't like a movie came out at the same time. Higher Learning came out in America, and it was like 6 months until it came out in the UK. So a lot of the sort of the press the UK got from it was based on the press that the Americans had for it.
Right.
So that kind of it ended up being, like you say, it was the one that they were pushing, and it was the one that they were saying, look, this has got fucking shit to say. It was plus 2 hours long, etc. But then it was John Singleton. It was his big, it was the big movie that he was going to do, which was going to deal with not just black centric issues, but overall issues of youth culture. And it just it pissed too many people off.
Mm-hmm. So it was kind of it was dead before it arrived.
A little bit in certain circumstances, yeah. And I think that Lawrence Fishburne said previously that he just thinks that that era of early Clinton white America just probably wasn't quite ready for this movie.
No, and I think it was a time where what was happening with rap music as well was there was a lot of fear around. There was a lot of fear around, like, all of a sudden white parents were worried about their kids listening to black music, and that was happening a lot, despite the fact that NWA had come in an awful lot earlier and Ice-T had been around for a really long time at that point. At this point, Ice-T was coming out and saying, white people, you should be worried because your kids are listening to this, and white people were listening to that and saying, oh shit, we should be worried about this. I think this 1995 would have been around the time that, I'd have to check, but I would guess that would be about the time that Home Invasion by Ice-T came out, which was, the title track is about, two things. It's kind of the idea that someone can burst into your house and assault you, but actually, because it's Ice-T, the theme of that is, I am in your house assaulting your children with my violence and stories of truth, sort of thing. So it sort of makes sense that people would have been reactive to that, I think.
There's also a great scene in Higher Learning of Busta Rhymes when a party gets shut down and he's talking to the cops outside, and all he's doing is every time a girl walks out, he's just looking at them going, oh, man, look, oh, God, hit that. And he's basically saying that, and the cop is just nodding at him, and he's going, oh, and he looks so upset. He's also called Dreads in it, I think.
Do you think he knew he was on camera at that point?
No, I don't think he knew he was in a movie.
No.
So, anyway, I've just babbled about a completely different film for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Apologies for that.
Okay, so Ian, anything to add on Deep Cover?
No, good, man. Enjoyed it. I'm happy to have it.
Good.
Excellent. Definite pay it forward then, by the sounds of things. I think we're all agreed on that. So let's move on to the third film. The third film was a choice from Ian for me. Ian, if you would like to explain what the fuck. You would like to explain the Greasy Strangler?
Did you both watch it?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Right. Okay. I didn't rewatch it. I just wanted you two to watch it. So I only watched it a few months back, to be fair. So the Greasy Strangler. Okay. This is the editor of Empire, Terry White. It's one of her it's her favourite film of last year. And it got a lot of word when it came out. It was like a big kind of draft house thing in the US, and Ben Wheatley, I think, produced it, if I remember correctly. And so I was intrigued by it, and I watched it, and I just thought, I need Noel to see this. And what better way to get Noel to see it than to force it into his iTunes collection?
That is what this podcast is for. Yeah.
So the thing is, I quite like the Greasy Strangler because it is Lynchian and John Watersian in its undiluted, this is what the director wanted to do. This is absolutely no compromise. I'm going to let it literally all hang out cinema, which is fairly rare in this day and age. And is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Let's discuss. But it's fair to say that in today's cinema you'll never see anything like the Greasy Strangler.
No, that's true. It's So the Greasy Strangler, as I pointed out to you again on WhatsApp while I was watching this, because I was ready for this. I had seen the trailer a long time ago. I think we discussed it off somewhere. I seem to remember seeing the trailer and thinking, this looks fucking mental. I'm sure I could have fun with this. I'm sure I could have a good time with this. It passed me by since then. It must have just crept out and I didn't see it, obviously. So I was aware of it. I had not really heard any opinion on it, I don't think, since then. And it was a Friday night. I was sat downstairs. Claire had gone to bed. I had a few beers. I'd had a long week. I was ready to have the kind of experience that I was expecting from the Greasy Strangler. It was probably about 5 or 6 minutes into it, during a conversation between the two lead characters, Big Ronnie and Big Braden, the father and son characters who this all centers around, that I realized that this was definitely going to go one of two ways. And I said on the WhatsApp group, I said, this is going to go one of two ways. I could just tell by the dialogue that I was either going to get on board, or I was going to start squirming in my seat a little bit. It was at around the 10:57 mark, because I just remember checking the time at that point. It was around the 10:57 mark when there are three very, very much side characters who are having a conversation about paprika-flavored potato chips at a vending machine. And one of them says potato in a funny accent, maybe 8, 9, 10, I lost count, times. It was around that point that I realised that I was going to fucking hate this film.
Oh, God.
I'm sorry. The thing is I remember checking the time at 10:57, and then I checked the time again at another point, and that was at around 17 minutes. And then I thought, all right, well, I'm just going to try and crack on with this. and then I checked the time again, and it was 33 minutes. And then I thought, right, well, I don't want this to become a thing, but I think it would be quite interesting if I kept a log of when I did check the time on this. So
anything to get you through it, though. Anything to get you through it.
These were the moments that I checked the time: 10:57, 17 minutes 20, 33 minutes 43, 43 minutes 16, 61 minutes 3, 72 minutes 3, 76 minutes and 1 second. And I think from there I was probably drunk enough that I just kind of saw it through. The problem that I have is that it's not that it's, in my opinion, it's not that it is Watersian or Lynchian or no compromise. It's that it wants me to think that it's all those things. And what comes across to me in the dialogue, moments where you've got these two characters in matching pink turtlenecks shouting bullshit artist at each other, it wants me to come away from it with a fancy dress option and a catchphrase and something that I can repeat to my friends as a memorable line. The best films that give you, look at The Big Lebowski is a great example. The Big Lebowski is a film by some directors who made something with love, which is naturally funny and naturally charming and has a million catchphrases that people still cite to this day. That was kind of, I don't think that the Coens went into making a film thinking we should ram in some catchphrases here because we want people to carry on those catchphrases further down the line. People go to festivals dressed as the dude. I don't think the Coen brothers were thinking we should dress this character like this so that people will cosplay as him for many years down the line. In The Greasy Strangler, it feels like every line of dialogue that's put in there, every unaesthetically pleasing character, every outfit choice, and every put down or conversation that's had is done with the intention of appealing to me. And it's like it desperately wants to be my friend. And that sort of rubs me wrong. It felt a little bit like it wanted to be a horror drama version of Napoleon Dynamite, a film that sort of exists in that sort of, it's a non-existent time. It's sort of like the 80s because everybody's dressed like they got dressed in a charity shop. And everybody's got sort of hair that's a bit too long and greasy and uncomfortable, and every pair of glasses that everybody's got has to be a thick-rimmed pair of glasses. It feels like it operates in that space, but it felt like it was sort of forcing that aesthetic on me as something that, hey, you'll like this because you like this stuff. And that sort of, that turned me off, unfortunately. Just the way everybody's walking around in their underpants and everybody's meant to look uncomfortable and unattractive, and it sent like it was like nails on a chalk on a blackboard, on a chalkboard, or whatever the phrase is, at times, with I like to put my tongue between the ridges because of the salty goodness, and it's like that they all of a sudden start having a conversation about ridged crisps because you can put your tongue in them for the salty goodness, and it's like, fuck off, like just fuck off. So I guess there's moments in there that it's a film that's doing two things. It's a film that's doing the sort of indie drama, South by Southwest hit kind of thing, and I think there's moments in there like that are interesting. But then it wants to be a cult film with a sort of horror aesthetic at times as well. So you'll see the main character of Big Ronnie walking about with his cock out, or wearing some sort of lycra thing which has got a window in the front where you can see his cock, and he's sort of like gyrating to some ridiculous electronica sort of soundtrack, because it wants you to evoke some sort of Carpenter-esque thing. So there's even a moment where he dresses up as a character that looks like he's dressed as John Carpenter. So I don't know. It just felt like it was trying to be. It felt like they wanted the next big cult hit, written in quotation marks, on the poster, and I'm just of the feeling that that's not something the film should decide. That's something the audience should decide. So yeah, I'm sorry. We've had a good show so far, but I really didn't like it.
Well, I fucked the dog on that one, didn't I, boys?
But you know what? I'm glad that I watched it. I am glad that I watched it, because
Can you ask for things to be removed from your iTunes library? Maybe that's the thing.
No, and I wouldn't have it any other way, because now every time I glance past it, there'll be a little shiver of discomfort down my back, and you know what? That's probably what the director Jim Hosking would want. So there we go. I'm interested to hear what Mark thinks.
I'm fucking fascinated to see what Mark thinks, to be honest.
He's gonna say he liked it.
Who did you say put it as the number one film? Yeah.
The editor of Empire.
Yeah. The editor of the Premiere Movie Magazine in the UK put this as her favourite film of the year.
Yeah. The editor of the whole thing?
Yeah.
Put it as her favourite film of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Bullshit artist.
She doesn't. There is no way, and I'm absolutely 100% calling bullshit artist on that. She doesn't think this is the number one movie of that year. She wants people to think she thinks it's the number one movie of the year. It is the ultimate act of contrarianism from a fucking magazine that essentially is a TV magazine that occasionally has fucking film features in it. This film has no point in existence at all. It's barely a fucking film. It is a sketch that the director thinks funny, portrayed as a film that keeps fucking repeating itself. I'm glad I've watched it, because now
I am glad I watched it. I must say, I am definitely glad I watched it.
I am glad I watched it, because now when I get people come up to me and I chat with film friends and things like that, and they go, "Oh, you're Greasey Strangler. It's great. It's fun. It's nice.
So cool."
I can go, "No, it's fucking not. All right, it is not nihilistic fun. It is absolute bobbins, to coin an Ian phrase. It's like you were saying. It is. It's a director wanting to do things to try and seem shocking rather than doing shocking things, and that's what fucking grated on me. It is uncomfortable to watch. It's pretty icky to watch. It's pretty disgusting to watch. But there's too much in it that makes you go, really? We get it. He walks around with his dick out. Stop showing me it. I get your fucking point. And the grease thing, and this needs more grease, and everything needs more grease. It's just, right, fine, I get it. I get it. I can absolutely see how some certain people could have a good time with this movie. I absolutely can see.
I gotta say, I liked the repeated bits of him in the car wash. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say I liked that, yes.
Do you know what? I didn't mind that one shot being used over and over again. I thought that was all right. It made sense.
It felt a bit Edgar Wright-ish almost, like just that sort of quick sort of flap, 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 flap. So, yeah.
Yeah, that I was fine with. But the fact that, it's set in some other weird fucking universe where everybody's a bit dumb and not not quite there.
I think everybody talks to each other like a child. Like everybody speaks like they're 8 years old, and it's just weird. It's just like, and not weird in the good way. It's just like, why you No,
and this always takes me back to the whole fucking thing of the way that it's. David Lynch said after he made Inland Empire that the beauty of digital film and digital photography is that he made Inland Empire on a set of cameras that he went to a fucking store and bought, and that was amazing. And he said that the great thing about digital, and numerous directors said the great thing about digital is, like the VHS movement of the 80s, was that it opened up movies to being able to be made by anyone. Anybody could go out and make them. That was a wonderful thing. And I cannot disagree with that more. It's not a wonderful thing. It's not, because occasionally you get somebody like Jim Hoskins will go out and make this movie. And that is the problem with anybody who has an idea should go out and make your movie if it's the movie you want to make. Because I don't think this is the movie he wants to make. I think this is a movie where he's gone, do you know what? This is going to get attention.
This is maybe they'll get attention. And I think that's the problem. I don't think it's necessarily that, the fact that anybody can make a movie now in the same way as VHS allowed anybody to make a movie back then. I think the problem now, the situation in the 80s was the situation in the VHS era was very different. The situation there was you could go out and make a movie and get it funded and it exists outside the Hollywood system. The situation that you've got now is that you can make a movie that attempts to do a certain thing and have it play at festivals like South by Southwest, and then the world will decide, not the world, there's a certain part of the internet that will decide that that's a hit and that deserves a quote on a poster, and that's the new South by Southwest hit, and then all of a sudden then that's like, oh, check out how cool this is. And it's like, well, no, that's not how the VHS era worked. There was an awful lot of films that were made. A lot of them were shit. And now we can go back and pick through those and go, you know what? Actually, this one was pretty good. This one's shit. This one's shit. But you know what? This one actually was pretty good. But now it works the other way around. There's probably an awful lot of movies out there that are interesting, that are good, but we're not getting to see them because fucking clowns like the editor of Empire are talking to us about this shit. So that's where the problem is. I feel.
Yeah, I'm agree. Like I say, I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad it's not in my iTunes library. Usually whatever we cover on here, I buy. The Greasy Strangler, I thought, no, that's on Sky Go. I'm gonna give it a go on that, and then if I like it, I'll buy it. But I didn't. But then again, I'm a little bit funny about food-related things.
Oh God! All right. Well, that's gonna That's like
I can't even watch people eat. It makes me feel weird. And if anyone's ever allowed eating near me, then Christ, that makes me. It actually makes me shudder, and I have to kind of leave the fucking room.
But on that as well, I mean, that's the whole sort of the idea of Grease being this. I mean, I rewatched the trailer of it today. And at the beginning, it says, on the sort of the Green Band trailer sort of thing where it says scenes of a whatever nature, it says on there, it contains scenes of a greasy nature. And then within the first sort of 5-10 minutes of the film, you've got the main character of Big Ronnie, and he's saying something like, oh, I wonder why they don't put more grease in coffee. Maybe people should have grease in coffee. What do you think about greasy coffee? And they're just talking about grease. And it just feels like, all right, the director Jim Hosking and probably his writer friend Toby Harvard probably went to college together, and they've probably got a little in-joke about grease. That it's probably a little thing that they say to each other. And they've hooked this whole film around this little in-joke that they've got. I'm completely making this up. This might not be true, but that it feels like there's this little in-joke that they think is funny. They think is funny, and they want to sort of enforce that on the world so that their little in-joke gets a little bit more it gets a little bit more air, and that sense of just, not being part of the collective joke, but having it enforced on you because we think this is cool and we think this is funny, just sets my teeth on edge. And it comes back to the main thing that I'm saying is that it's less about a film that is cool. It's less about being a low budget film that is cool and that is charming, that is funny, and that does have something unique going on about it. And it's more about a film that wants you to think that's what it is. And it feels incredibly inauthentic to me personally.
I get what you're saying about him wanting attention with this, but I don't know how anyone makes this film and thinks they're actually going to get some sort of release out of it.
It was Elijah Wood's production company. That's why.
Elijah Wood's
production company, yeah.
But I mean, I don't think they were they weren't involved in the scripting stage. Surely, he had to write this, and in the end of the day, Elijah Wood, he's a geek-friendly guy, but he also runs a company which needs to make money.
That's it. But the fact that this movie, I mean, it's an hour and 30 minutes long, but it repeats itself several times within the movie.
Look, I wanted you two to watch The Greasy Strangler. That's literally why and obviously it's gone horrifically wrong.
It's actually gone fine because both of us
it's worth it for the discussion.
It's just, it's like we've done. This is the third episode, I think, now. And we've all been pretty chill with everybody's choices. And
we have.
It's like, bang, here we go.
Well, this is it though, Ian. It's either a challenging film which sparks furious debate, or it's a film that the director wants you to think is a furious film that sparks furious debate. So that's the thing, isn't it? That's what the director wanted it to be. And that's what it is, clearly, because that's what we're doing.
And it's basically, it's basically turned into you
maybe I'm wrong.
saying it's shit and me going, yeah, all right, then fair enough. Which, it probably, it's probably not the best discussion. But
we've been here before. What was that? I remember on Heroes. Was it Bellflower? We were talking about Bellflower.
Bellflower, yeah.
And I loved Bellflower. I really enjoyed it. And I think you two hated it.
And I think
I think probably if I went back and watched Bellflower now, I'd think exactly the same thing I'd think exactly the same things and say the same things that I'm saying about the Greasy Strangler. It's just maybe I'm just more sensitive to being not pandered to, but just sort of I don't know.
I've got to say, subconsciously, there's probably a reason why, out of all of these films that we've done on Playing It Forward so far, this is the one I haven't watched for the show.
Oh, that's true.
So yeah. Sorry.
Well, if you ever want to borrow my iTunes login, fucking feel free because it's right there. With a big pink cover.
Can you give it back?
Ungift.
I'm serious though, man. I mean, at the end of the day, surely you must be able to contact Apple and say, look, this was gifted to me by a fucking bellend. Could you please take it off?
No, that's not what I want. That's not the point. The point of this podcast is for this to happen. This is all correct.
To be
fair,
all right. You're buying for me next time, and I'm very unsure as to whether I want that particular film in my digital library. So yeah, I'm sorry you thought it was shit, guys.
Well,
it's quite all right. Like I say, I'm glad I've watched it.
I'm glad we watched it, and I am glad we watched it, and I'm glad we got a chance to talk about it, and I'm glad that I now have an opinion on it as well. And as I say, that's the purpose of this podcast. And actually, the fact that we both just had, we've all just enjoyed talking about two films, it's kind of more interesting to throw in there something that's a little bit, like the sand in the vagina sort of situation. So, so I'm happy about it. Don't. So yeah, needless to say, I would not pay it forward. It's unless it, I don't know. Actually, it depends, because there's a certain type of person that might get something out of this, and I don't know. I guess I'm just not it. Maybe I was many moons ago. Who knows? So that's the Greasy Strangler. We've got two pay it forwards in Black Caesar and Deep Cover. Fairly unanimous no on the Greasy Strangler, Ian. You did pay it forward, but you wouldn't.
Even the one who played it forward is not.
He's contemplating giving it back.
And I'm contemplating just, I don't know. Can it just not be anywhere?
Let's just never speak of it again.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's like, yeah, you don't want to. I don't want Jim Hosking to have any more attention. So, okay. But as I say, as I gently thumb past the bright pink cover of the Greasy Strangler, I will always remember this conversation. So that's what we're here for. All right, well, that's all three films done. Do we have anything else to talk about before we call it an evening?
Well, should we
Next films?
Yeah, let's talk that.
Yeah. All right. So this time around, I will be buying for Ian. Ian will be buying for Marc, and Marc is buying for me. So I'll start, because we talked about this a little bit earlier. This was a very different way of picking a film this time around. I happened to be, I work for a university now, and I happened to be out and about around the university, and there was a young girl who was screaming to her friends while pointing at a poster of one of the graduates' fashion exam pieces, and she was screaming something like, "Oh my God, is this supposed to be fashion? How the hell are you supposed to wear that?" sort of thing. And I just thought to myself, this would be a wonderful time to just spout Meryl Streep's speech about how fashion trickles down to Anne Hathaway in The Devil Wears Prada. I mentioned this on WhatsApp. Ian said, "Oh, I've actually not seen The Devil Wears Prada." And I jokingly said, "Well, guess what you're fucking going to see next month?" At which point I kind of said, "No, I'm only joking. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to enforce that on you." And then as the conversation went on, I was like, well, you know what? It's a good movie. I enjoy it. It's a good, solid flick, and maybe you'll get something out of it. And Ian said, "All right, well, maybe I could watch that with Donna, and let's go for it." So I'm going to be sending The Devil Wears Prada to Ian once this show finishes. Ian, you've got something very different for Marc.
Yeah, I do. So over the last few weeks on the regular show, we've been doing Twin Peaks recaps, and I've been continuously referencing the Howell Ashby film Being There, and Marc's been kind of saying yep, and kind of.
I was aware of it. I realised that I'd not actually seen it.
It's just like I think I literally said what the plot was, and I almost said what the ending was at one point, because I say you won't see the ending coming. So, yeah, Marc's not seen Being There, so I am gifting Marc Being There, which is only available in standard definition on iTunes. So, it's going to look horrific, guys, so let's get ready for that. But it's a really, really interesting film. Peter Sellers is really good in it. I'm going to rewatch this because it's a good film, I promise.
Excellent. Well, I've not seen that either, so that's good.
Fantastic.
And Marc, you are buying or have bought for me, so what is that and why?
I have got for you The Last Unicorn, which is a 1982 animated fantasy film by Arthur Rankin and Jules Brass. And it stars the voices of Alan Arkin, Jeff Bridges, Mia Farrow, Angela Lansbury, and Christopher Lee. It's a film that I had as a kid, to be honest, and it's. I know that you're partial to your kind of 80s dark animation, and this is what this is. It's certainly. It is technically animated. It's a PG, so it's not like an adult animation movie, but it is very dark.
Yeah,
is what I would say about it. And I was actually in the car, and I jokingly mentioned something about The Last Unicorn. Said, I should pick that for Noel. No, Becky said, you should pick that for Noel for his next. What is it? And I went, no, I don't think. Wait a minute. Actually, yeah, I think I could.
And I'm glad you did. It's funny because you're dead right. The sort of, I love sort of early to mid 80s kids films that are a little bit dark and a little bit odd. I don't know why I've never seen this, especially stuff that is in animation. So stuff like Rock and Rule or Star Chaser, The Legend of Orion. I do really like stuff like that, or Fire and Ice, that type of thing. So I feel like I've heard of this, but it's one of those great films that's just been lost to time a little bit. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I can probably watch it with Charlie as well. So that'll be interesting.
I would think you probably could. Yeah.
I will say, I googled it earlier on, and there were articles about how it was like nightmare fuel for kids.
Oh really?
Yeah, you might just read.
I might watch on my own first.
What I would say, is watch on your own first, and then possibly judge and watch it on China, because there is.
Yeah.
One of the whole things is where the unicorns have gone. Let's say a Red Bull. But it's he's not. I have a feeling. I'm hoping we're both gonna like it. To be honest.
Yeah.
I'm fucking.
Yeah, I mean a few years. Yeah, a few years. I'm certainly of the mind that kids should experience this stuff early on and build up a defense mechanism, because I know I did, but he's still 3, so it's not. There's no rush on that. So yeah, I'll watch it on my own and we'll take it from there. Excellent. Well, that was our show, and that will be our next one. Not too sure when that will be. I guess, is there any bad weeks coming up?
There's probably going to be a week in July.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you when, but I'm sure there will. I mean, we've got Spider-Man: Homecoming, we've got Dunkirk, we've got War for the Planet of the Apes. I think late July would probably be fitting.
So between Spider-Man and Dunkirk and Transformers, and then another episode of this, then you're not really getting rid of me anytime soon, I suppose, are you?
No, we're good.
Yes,
excellent.
I'm just going to have a quick look now if fucking the FDA website would stop being a fucking bell end. Right, what's July? July. Where am I now? Spider-Man. Right, 21st of July is Dunkirk. 47 meters. So 28th of July, 47 meters down. Hounds of Love. Oh, The Big Sick. I actually want to see that. We'll find something. Something. It'll happen.
Yeah.
It'll happen.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Right, well, I guess that means it's time to close the portal to the extended Dude and a Monkey universe, or damn you, for another month or so. Watch this space. That was Play It Forward, and we'll do it again soon. So I guess it's bye-bye from me and bye-bye from everyone else.
Bye-bye.
Bye. We'll just have to do 2 episodes in a week at some point. It'll be fine.
Yeah, fuck it.
Can you do that?
Nice.